How about now? There we go. Now I hear it. Okay, awesome. Cool beans. Alright, cool. That's dope. Sorry about that. We're just testing that. Hey Viv, how you doing? How was the what was it called? The farmer's market last night or yesterday? How'd that end up going? I'm not a huge fan of having it right there on my screen, but you know what? It's out of that's fine. And that actually looks not too bad. I like that. Sore? Nah, I believe that. Nah, it's dope. Gee, how was the sales, Viv? Almost sold out. That's fucking impressive. Mazel tov. Let's fucking go. That's good. Let me just check and see. Okay, that doesn't look too bad. Can't complain. There, that's better. I had to make a whole new stock last night, and your candle print. Nice, awesome. I can't wait to see it. How am I doing? I'm doing okay. I'm in a meeting right now. I finished everything I needed to do for said meeting, and now we're just chilling. Now we are just chilling. All is well, and I'm just trying to get. I was just trying to honestly test and see how this turns out, to be completely honest with you. The only thing I'm not fond of with this is that it's taking the chat from both, which is unfortunate, but what can you do? But yeah, things are good. All is well. Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna be a pain. Listen, I'm happy to see it. It's good to have you back, homegirl. For real, though. Because I'll be real with you, it's like... it's been a hot minute. I know you've been dying. Meadow's going to be back in about 2 weeks anyways. She's been dying her damn self trying to get through work and shit. So let me double check. Yeah, meeting. Can I leave this meeting? Is Shirkanth here? She's not? Alright, I'm just going to... nah, I can't dip yet. But no, I'm going to be playing some Master Duel tonight, and I'm going to be reacting as far as you pass your final with a 98. Let's fucking go. I'm proud of you, homegirl. That's fucking awesome. Yeah, Meta's coming home finally. It's gonna be really nice. I've missed her a lot, to be honest. It's been hard. Like, genuinely really hard. It really is. I miss her a lot. It's going to be good to have her home. I've missed her a bunches and bunches. All right, 3, just waiting. Yep, and my meeting's done. Thank the Lord. So now at this point, I'm just trying to figure out why the fuck this is... Oh wait, no, you know what? It's coming in from the RTP. Filtering, bot, relay. Maybe I'll do it that way. Maybe that'll be better. Turn off relay mode. Say something else real quick, Viv. Just checking something real quick. Yeah, I saw you were back on TikTok. It dropped you a follow. I was like seeing like some of the stuff that you've been doing and all that, which is good. Which is good. My TikTok is currently cussing about the bullshit decision from the Supreme Court. And I'm currently, like, here's the thing. I want to talk about it, and I want to, like, rag on conservatives for it. But it's hard, because I would really, really, really like to rag on them really hard about it. But, you know, it's like the old Louis C.K. bit. These morons think we're killing literal children with an abortion, and that there is no reason ever for it to be okay. And so I'm just kind of struggling with it because, fuck, man, like, there is a level of frustration that I have as it pertains to, you know, these things where it's just like, I want to talk about it, but it's a can of worms, and I'd rather just bully them on economic issues and certain social issues. It's like guns and abortion. It's like you can't touch either of those. And even then, I'm pro-gun. It's just fucking obnoxious. Yeah, no, there are no, I agree. There's plenty of reasons why abortion is okay, but we're talking with people who have deluded themselves into thinking that abortion is murder. Not because it is, but because they routinely go to their weekly smooth brain meeting and chant lies to each other in a circle like a fucking cult, and then they leave and then expunge those things from their face hole and then act as if that's how the real world works. You ever wonder why conservatives constantly talk about, like, that's not how the real world works. This is how the real... It's because at the end of the day, the way they think the world works is the way they think the world should work, and they've been they've deluded themselves and lied to themselves for so fucking long that whenever like reality rears its ugly head, they look to blame anything except the root cause. But that's enough of that. Honestly, I got unbanned from Twitter finally, which is nice, I guess. That was cool. But I don't know. It's just pop out chat. No, yeah. Couldn't agree with me more. Nah, I feel that it's just I look I don't know and you know what I found a little more funny was talking about Madison Cawthorn, because he like Occupy Democrats, that fucking shit lib outlet had said, oh, he should resign for this. No. Like, remember, lefty positions. If you want to wear women's clothes and party, like, I'm not mad at that. Like, that doesn't, like, that's like a Friday night for some people I know. What I think is really funny though is that a lot of like gay folk on the internet and that I know, and women that on the internet and that I know, were the most offensive thing about Madison Cawthorn in those two photos was not the fact that he was surrounded by women and dressed in women's clothing drinking. It was the fact that, to them, he looked better than they did in women's clothing. And that was kind of the funniest fucking thing for me to see, because, like, it's, like, the only people who are going to eat him up for that is the right. You're not middle, you're left. Because the thing is that, like, being in the middle sounds good. The problem is that what the middle is today is saying that this group of people over here wants to give people expand the right to vote, wants to make healthcare cheaper and free, wants to make people's lives better and happier, and then over here you have a group of people that think that anybody in the alphabet mafia are degenerate and should either be quiet or die, and that you should be forced to have a kid and then be forced to pay tens of thousands of dollars to have that kid, and then don't care about that kid after it's born. Honest to God, if you and I sat down privately and you told me your political opinion, if I went point by point on different political things, I could tell you, like, broad strokes, the difference between, you know, like, you being a liberal and being a leftist is frankly your stance on guns, because I evolved my stance on firearms. So you see, what I used to think is there's no reason for anybody to have a gun, which is kind of like a naive and kind of classist view of mine at that point. If you hold lefty policies such as living in an equitable society, righting the past wrongs, nationalized health care, possibly things like worker co-ops, moving towards a less authoritarian model for businesses. Because I'll be completely honest with you, if you believe all of that shit and you believe in the Second Amendment, you're probably just a leftist. Because the fact of the matter is that a right winger likes having guns, so when shit falls out, they can kill you. I want to have guns because I want to make sure that if they take over the government, I can kill them. That's personally where I'm at for it, you know. I take it your parents would probably be the same, Viv, honestly. Your dad kind of like struck me as maybe someone who's like on the surface conservative, but like has a lot of like left-wing ideology as far as it comes to economic things, especially maybe unions or something. I don't know. Oh, goodness gracious. What the fuck do I have to do for the rest of the day? Well, it's the end of sprint. I've kind of, like, run its course. I've done all my tickets. Yeah. Nah. That's that. Oh, man. Now, just click the window here. I just gotta make it to 4 o'clock and I'm home free. But yeah, things are good. Things are chill. All is well. We're vibing. We're vibing. Otherwise, how's things going on your end, Viv? Taking care of yourself, I take it? I agree with this, but I think that people should go through a psychiatric evaluation before acquiring said gun. Yeah, that's fine. Like, I don't disagree. Like, I think making, like, yeah, no, it's, you know, I'm completely, like, I love talking to right-wingers about the Second Amendment, because when they say shit like, oh, people shouldn't be able to do that, and I'm like, nah, they should. They should. Because here's the thing. If, people who are crazy should not own weapons. And I think, and then they're like, but you're pro Second Amendment. I'm like, yeah. They're like, then why would you do it? Because I want to own guns to prevent you from taking away my rights. Taking care of yourself now that you're out of school, 1,000%. That's fucking good. I'm proud of you. Let's fucking go. What's so now that you've got all this free time, are you just gonna be going all gung ho into Scalby's candles and making a fucking killing? I mean, now you got the time for it, and you can genuinely work at it. That's good. What is... Alright, so what do I got? I'm actually like kind of like excited to like stream tonight because I haven't done it in a few days. I saw someone with a bumper sticker that says if my heart beats if my heart beats, so do theirs. I want to scratch that so bad. Listen, you have to remember, if people who are socially conservative and economically conservative and aren't wealthy, generally are either selfish or it's three things. It's one of three things. They're selfish. They have never given any actual thought to their beliefs and have just taken what was handed to them and just rode with it and never really like had any level of introspection, or they're stupid. Now, the middle one is usually, for the vast majority of Americans, the case. Like, people are just like, oh, this is what I believe, this is like what my parents believed, and this is what I had, and I just never questioned it. That's fair. Like, I was that way with my parents for a long, long time. I believed a lot of shit my parents said, and now, if I'm, especially on like the matter of like things like guns and economics, oh, I'd fight with my parents all the time with that shit. Let me start. Writing in your candles? Nice. You should, and what you also might want to start doing is like making like I would recommend you to do something like make a night to stream during the summer, like just spoopy games, you know what I mean? Like do like Saturday night spooks or whatever, and like you just play like something spoopy. I think that would generally go very well with your aesthetic. I think, and if your husband ever puts out another one of his vampire books, you could play Vampire the Masquerade as like a promotion for it too, which I think would be really interesting. I'll be honest though, I will say I do kind of like just streaming like this and talking into the camera. Also, by the way, Viv. Yeah. Also, by the way, Viv. I also I'm giving Meadow my laptop. I say old laptop. The thing's a fucking beast. But she's gonna be playing. I'm making her play Elder Scrolls Online with me, and we can all play and we can all play together as a group again, which is fun. Also, me and Meadow have been playing on Stardew Valley, and we have been playing on the group world. So don't worry. I harvested all your plants and all of Frisk's plants, and I put them in your guys' respective chests, so you guys have all your stuff. But oh no, absolutely it is. It's a ton of fun. Yeah, no, you're good. I got you. I'm on it. But yeah, no, it's good. I've been finding that like I just. It's actually kind of cute because Meadow and I sleep in the same bed when we go to bed at night, which is cute. Regardless, you know what? On a let me just see real quick. You know what? Actually, on an unrelated note, I am having a very, very hard time playing Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. Like, when I was playing it with Uriah on stream last week, and we were just powering through, it was fun, because, like, and it's like, I understand that the game is rated T for teen, and frankly, the humor in it isn't any less juvenile than it was in less or more juvenile than it was in Borderlands 3. They just don't swear. Yeah. Oh no, I absolutely would answer a political question. What's the political question, Viv? Let's see it. Type it out, type it out, type it out, let's type it out, type it out, type it out, type it out, we'll type it out. Oh my God, wait and see. I will soon. Going mobile, just chatting. Dee 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 dee, and you cannot be that bad. Your thoughts on the differences between church and state? I strongly believe they say this, but they're in cahoots together. So, constitutionally, there is absolutely a separation between church and state. The thing is that you have to remember that fundamentally, America was a majority Christian nation. And when I say that, I don't mean America was a Christian nation. I mean America had a majority of Christians living within it. And the thing is that for the longest time, and I'm sure you know this, Viv, but this is basic U.S. history, but not everybody knows it because not all schooling is the same. Up until the 1980s, politics was considered uncouth. It was considered improper to be highly political as a spiritual and religious person. And so up until the 1980s, religion was considered, like, religious people and religious, like, evangelicals considered, not even just like being politically outright, but even voting as kind of sinful, because politics by its very nature for the entirety of U.S. history has always been kind of viewed as not good, as profane. And that changed when Ronald Reagan, in part by working together with evangelical leaders, prominent United States evangelical leaders, was able to move the entirety of the evangelical base using Christian victimization rhetoric in terms of, like, the thing about Christianity is that you always got to kind of like display yourself as a martyr. Martyrdom and victimization is integral to Christian theology. And you are, because especially in America, because while you are a victim, you are not in power. And while you are not in power, you are not expected to do any of the things the Bible expects of people in power to do, such as clothe the poor, take care of refugees, eat the rich, things of that nature. And so the constant victim mentality of Christians is what they played off of. As a result, the Republican Party won in waves by inexplicably tying conservative Republican politics with evangelical nationalism, and in that pairing, and in the connotation of conservatism and evangelicalism has gotten only worse and worse over the last 40 years. And remember, the Catholic League has been fighting things like Roe v. has been doing psyops for Roe v. Wade for the last 60, 70 years. The evangelicals just co-opted it, because even before the evangelicals became diehards against abortion, for the majority of evangelical history, for the 100 plus years they're around, up until that point, it was always viewed as a Catholic issue. There was never an opinion on it, but again, it was an issue that the conservative powerful elites could use to galvanize people. And so, pairing these things together, having a base that cares about social issues such as abortion and, at the time, integration and things of that nature, because integration was still trying to happen even in the 1980s, early 1980s, what ended up happening is, the Republicans won and killed the Democrats for decades. Literally for 20 years, for almost 20 years. It wasn't until, Bill Clinton threw all orthodoxy of previous Democratic things, like government spending, very Keynesian economics principles, which, while might have been better than the laissez-faire capitalist type of system that existed before the New Deal, didn't plug all the holes that were native to the American system. And so what ended up happening over time is, every politician, bare minimum, at least today, has to be religious. And if you're voting and if you're in a conservative district, you better damn well be Christian. Better not be any other denomination, and God forbid you were an atheist. Atheists, believe it or not, more people would rather have a gay president than an atheist one. Which just goes to show how pervasive the expectation of religiosity is within the United States. Finally, last point I'll make on that. While the separation of church and state is codified, the fact of the matter is we've had 40 plus years of constant dogmatization and the expectation of politicians to at least appear faithful. To at bare minimum, a faith if you're a Democrat, and required to be devoutly Christian if you're a Republican. And remember, these religious groups pay billions of dollars a year in political contributions across the board. They, why it's no different from, say AstraZeneca, Bank of America, Amazon, any other big multi-billion-dollar conglomerate. Why would a politician whose checks get paid from this entity institute more taxes on that entity? Listen, if Lindsey Graham isn't going to tax isn't going to tax Bank of America, Amazon, Tesla, JP Morgan, any of these multi-billion-dollar entities, they're sure as shit not going to do it to churches. It's part of the reason why giant, like evangelical, like mega churches on like TV and shit were so huge. You know, I like, what's his name? Pick any televangelist. Robert Patton. Not Robert Patton. What's the host of the 700 Club again? Whatever his name is. Like, the point is that like these multi-millionaire, multi-billionaire pastors, they're in the political game just as much as any other corporate entity, and you know, money talks in Washington. Do I think that churches that are able to bring in revenue of millions of dollars should be taxed? Absolutely. 1,000%. You know, I mean, unless like a church like that is, you know, housing and feeding the homeless and donating to like college funds of their parishioners and stuff. But at the end of the day, as wonderful as those things are, those really are programs that we should be funding collectively as a society ourselves. Not just with the requirement of religion, because to get that aid, you usually have to jump through some hoops that you might not even be comfortable with. So, Jim Bakker, I don't know, like one of those, you know, fugly liars on the television. For me, at the end of the day, it just comes down to the fact that religion is a business, and the product is you, the believer. I remember I was watching the first episode of of Holy Gemstones or some other John Goodman show, and basically 3 pastors from small churches went up to this guy who owned a megachurch and said, "Hey, like, you're building this thing in our area. We're worried that you're going to take away our flocks. This big church is going to take away their flocks." Do you know what I heard when I heard that? I like, hey, this big business is going to come in. This Walmart's going to come into our town and take all of our business from the local grocery store, the local pharmacy, and the local hardware supply. That's what I heard, because it's no fucking different. Religion is a business, especially in America. And religion being a business is, let's be frank, the most American part of it. So yeah, we should tax the churches. We should enforce the separation of church and state. But we don't. Because religion is a business, and all of these businesses pay politicians so they can keep getting the financial benefits. And that's just reality. Anywho, moving on. I'm sorry that was a whole ass tangent. I apologize. Appreciate the clip though. That got me a highlight for YouTube for sure. Oh my goodness. But yeah. Otherwise, but yeah, that's kind of my thing when it comes to that stuff. Oh boy. What do I gotta do for the rest of the day? Is there anything else? Reminders. Cancel. Reminders. Do this all. Emails. We're good. How did I get so smart? It's not that I'm smart. I just read and I keep up with shit. Like, when it comes to the religious stuff, I was such an angry little atheist back in the day that I just read, watch, learn, everything. Which was cool, you know. But then, like, at a certain point I realized all I can do is vote and advocate for shit online and try and sway other people's opinions by being part of the cultural zeitgeist. And try and show that, like, hey, you may want it to go this way, but it's probably not. Or, better yet, like, one of the things I've kind of personally been a little more interested in as of late is kind of getting liberals further to the left. Because it's actually not that hard. You know, if somebody comes up to me and we're talking about, say, let's say that they come up to me and we're talking about, let's say, unionization. No, police brutality. Let's do police brutality. It's simpler. I have an example for that in my head already. Let's say that we're talking about it, and he says it's real. And a liberal says to me, "It's really bad that it's so terrible what happened to Ahmaud Arbery." Or no, not Ahmaud Arbery. He was killed by civilians. George Floyd. And then they also say at some point in that conversation, "Man, but also cops have a really hard job." See, my instinct there is to no, the piggies don't have a hard job. But my job there is not, when talking to somebody like that, who is talking in good faith, who generally kind of hasn't been demurring or whatever. They absolutely do have a hard job. And so it's like, I can't, while I might have a lot of spite for, police officers, especially the authoritarian and corrupt ones, one of the things I will do in a situation like that, if I'm talking with someone who's like left of center, is say, yeah, no, you're right, they do. So, so what if we took some stuff off their plate? What if we, for like non-violent situations, like mental wellness checks, going out into the field to like get a report of like a shoplifting or something, talking to a victim of a crime or something as a follow-up. Those things can be done by non-weapon care, like non-arrest, like not like people without arrest powers, or even social workers. And so, and I would say in that situation, like, what if we took some duties, some of those, like those extra duties that bog these overworked cops down, and gave them to social workers or maybe even a volunteer force, to handle like the non-violent things. You know what I mean? Like, and so then they say, well, how do you pay for it? Well, I'm like, well, since the police officer's workload has gone down, we can take some of the excess funding that we give because we're just throwing money at the problem, and we can just use it to fund subdivisions of the police department that are literally just social workers or a volunteer force. And so in doing that, you get them, like, without saying the words defund the police, they've kind of got in their head, oh, this is a good idea, and they understand why it's a good idea without ever mentioning the words defund the police and all the connotation that comes with it. Oh no, 1,000%. But I'm not talking about like them being sent to, like, I'm not like, you're not sending these people to go to a situation where like there was like a shooting or a stabbing or something. You're sending them to, say, like the convenience store I used to work at, after they made a police report, like says, hey, somebody shoplifted from us. And then you send that person down there and they make a police report at 2 o'clock at like 2 o'clock in the morning. That, like, those are the types of like non-violent things I'm talking about. Like when I lived with my parents, when like someone broke in our house and stole a bunch of our shit. Like, there was a cop that was here for a whole hour while like talking to us. That nice woman did not need to be there. You could have someone who, like, if you are licensed to use force and you are not trained, like if you're licensed to use force and stuff like that,
like you in you're overworked. Like you should be you are I think you should be paid, and you should be, and your time should be allocated for situations where force would be necessary. What I don't, you know, and you know where force is not necessary? Mental wellness checks, dealing with mentally unwell individuals and things of that nature. Again, you got to remember, they're not coming here to stop somebody from shoplifting. When somebody shoplifts, that person just leaves. Unless the store has loss prevention people on staff, the way for people to go is to just let them go, make a police report, and then write it off and take it as a write-off of their insurance. That's what almost every business does at this point. You know, some businesses might do have a loss prevention staff, but that's actually more rare than you think. 9 times out of 10, it's the cops showing up hours and hours after the theft has taken place and making a police report. That's it. You know, so you're very correct. If you're going to a situation where a crime is actively taking place, like, sure, I'm sure, like, maybe it might be like if it is a, you know, if it's like a legit crime going on, like someone's being assaulted, yes, let force be a thing. Like bring in the people with force, and that kind of brings me to another point. Like Uriah, remember, I'm not talking about replacing, you know, I'm not talking about replacing, you know, like I'm not talking about sending a social worker to a active scene. Right. You got to remember, in that shoplifting example, the person is gone. If loss prevention has them in custody, then you sent the cops with guns. I'm not like cops have their time wasted. Like, not even like here's the thing. So many crimes go uninvestigated just aren't given a shit, because a lot of cops view them as a waste of their time. Bare minimum, if we just took all of those crimes that cops consider a waste of their time and put them under the purview of social workers and maybe like paid volunteers or even a separate group of people who are trained in efficiency rather than lethality, things would be better. I'm not for the social worker works for things like sexual assaults, mental health, wellness checks, usually, and you know, but then you might think, okay, hey, say someone who's autistic, who's like a grown man, but he's autistic and he's not doing well. What you do is, in that moment, you send a social worker and an officer together, and the social worker is the one in charge. You know, because think about it. How many times have we heard stories of cops basically killing someone who's like mentally ill because they don't have the training to do it? I'm saying hire people with the training to do that. And if we and obviously cops don't want to be retrained to, you know, like what cops should be is they should be medics. Like, they should function in the spirit of like being like a combat medic, but not even the combat. Like, the cops are purposes to serve the community, and the problem is a lot of cops view their communities that they serve as their adversary. And I'm not like, listen, we can talk about the yes or no's. Yes, in fact, just for simplicity's sake, let's just say that we can't retrain the cops to be better, because efforts to have done that have been stonewalled, and just cops have refused to be better. We can't fight. Let's also presume we can't get rid of like cops that refuse, and like whatever. We'll just say status quo remains. So what do you do what's a solution to, if we can't change the police forces in this country and the culture within, one of the things we could do to fix things is to have social workers work in tandem with police officers. So in that example of, like, let's say that there is a teenager who's like big and he's on the spectrum and he's not able to like handle things well. Let's say what happens is that cops show up and the social worker is the one in charge, and she's the one giving orders. Because in that situation, she is the expert. She knows what to do. Even if that kid puts her hands on someone or something, she or he knows how to escalate that. And the only reason I'm saying she is because I think it was like 85 to 90% of people in the social worker profession are white women, which is a issue within itself, but a whole nother conversation. Social workers are better for different situations, like a child who has mental disabilities, who's lost, get a social worker and a cop, or someone has a serious mental illness, such as impending thoughts of death. Entering myself to his fits. Thank you for that, Viv. Send to a psychiatrist if you're doing a welfare check. That way, if the cop is needed, or the doctor can call upon the cop if needed. Exactly. The point is that the cop is supposed to be on standby to make sure that everybody is A-okay. That, like, to make sure that, like, if the cop's basically there to make sure that, to tackle said person if he pulls out a knife or a gun and starts trying to hurt people, which is so far out of the realm of reason, and I don't think it will happen except in like a handful of situations, that the only reason they'll get brought up in that situation is because they're so fucking rare. But I say it because I know people will use it as an example. Exactly. And the police officer is primarily also there, and the police officer does not act unless the social worker says so. And if the police officer does shit without the social worker telling him to do shit, it's his ass. He gets the reprimand. He gets put on administrative leave. He's the one who gets in trouble, and she's the one who testifies that that he was not in charge, and that unless that kid is running at him with a knife, there is no, like, that police officer needs to stay the fuck in the car unless that lady asks for it. It is with any society, the government has a monopoly on violence, and having that possibility of violence there will at the very least keep the peace. But making sure that the cop isn't able to make those calls in certain times when the police department is called will make, I personally think, communities more likely to cooperate with the police department in certain investigations, and having a less authoritarian group of people who are patently undertrained. I just think it would be better, personally. Oh, man. But yeah, that's the gist of it. Alright, I gotta run, y'all. My girlfriend's calling me.